If we can turn back the clock of time, if we can rotate it back almost 20 years ago.
A real Donnybrook, that's going to be. Nicely executed and down to the canvas. Here comes, all hell's going to break loose now. Anything goes here.
Welcome to the second edition of the Atomic Dropcast, your weekly knee to the ass bone for your ear holes. I am Brian, and alongside my co-host Mikey.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. What we're doing here in this show is we're taking a look back at the wrestling from our childhood from a new perspective as adults. We're recapping the action. We're giving you guys another look at the angles and the wrestling from yesteryear.
And this week, it's the Royal Rumble Fallout. It's Monday Night Raw, episode 194 from January 20th, 1997.
Tonight, they're live from Beaumont, Texas. It's the Montage Center inside Lamar University with an attendance of a staggering 4,834 people.
Killing the game.
Killing the game. 1997, the game has not exactly heated up for the WWF.
And we're talking about this just right before we went live. What was the attendance the night prior?
One night prior, Royal Rumble, San Antonio, 63,000 and some change.
They announced that as a sellout, which
A sellout, yeah.
not really.
This is a staggering drop off of about 58,000.
and we're talking this as well. They either tape both in one night, or they run the same arena 2 weeks in a row, which I can't imagine they would.
I can't imagine they would either. Yeah, the next Raw we're going to review on the next show also comes live from the exact same place.
And that is I don't have that date in front of me, but yeah, it's the next Raw, motherfuckers. Episode 195. Which it's funny. I'm trying to learn these numerical episodes now, because as a kid watching this, I didn't know or care that they fucking numbered them.
No, not at all. It was just Raw's on tonight.
Exactly.
And just to mention, this is the first Raw of about 10,000 we're going to go through.
So, and they're gonna get longer at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. An extra hour will get added on. A couple years down the road, we're gonna have 2 shows. It's gonna be crazy.
Which I'll say, watching this show, it really feels like they need it. Like
they need more time.
Yeah, the hour is very short. I mean, I think on the network the runtime is 47 minutes and maybe a little bit of change, and that's even with there's 2 commercials still in there. So I mean,
there's more than 2. I assure you. We're gonna go over that too. I made long notes on the commercial breaks.
I'm so glad you did, because I skipped them because he's not gonna want to talk about this. But I'm so glad you want to, because that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kicking off the show, we see the Raw layout. You see the giant Raw letters RAW at the entranceway. What do you think of that?
Oh man, like so many great memories.
Nostalgia right away.
Man, I love those letters, and we'll get to it later on. But even that entryway allows for this particular things that are cheesy but kind of cool. But yeah, I love those letters.
I do too. Yeah, it works out great. It's a great look. Everyone all around the arena can see it from the back row, which I guess is only about 6 rows deep when there's only 5,000 people. They announced right away the main event for tonight's Undertaker and Stone Cold. So already I'm ready. That's an awesome main event. JR, Vince, and King are on commentary. Vinnie Mac's still manning the table over there. And we heard that Psycho Sid, right off the original announcement, was supposed to be here tonight. He was supposed to fight Stone Cold, but due to a concussion, he'll be back next week, and Undertaker will take his spot.
And do you think, we spoke about it on the last episode, which if you haven't listened to, this is only number 2. You should go ahead and go back now and keep up. But on the last episode, we talked about it, and he had been in a car accident prior to the Royal Rumble main event. Do you think that's just kayfabe to?
No, I don't know. I tried to look up to see if there was an injury from the Royal Rumble, and I couldn't find anything on it. But I wouldn't think that they would announce it if they knew he wouldn't be there.
It damn sure in the camera shot to the back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that terrible shot. We open the show right away. Bret Hart comes out to the ring, unannounced, no theme song, no nothing. We talked about this last show. It's awesome.
Yeah, the whole there'll be even better examples moving forward in all of this, because this whole night kind of feels like unproduced turmoil, which it's perfect, man. Like even watching it now, so far removed, and even vaguely remembering some of this, it has. I guess sense of urgency is the wrong word, but like it kind of kept you on the edge of your seat. Like it doesn't, even in a business is completely predetermined. It doesn't feel like it when the the production is kind of underwhelming, but in a great way. It's not like you're watching a bad rip of a indie show DVD or something. It like the quality's there. It's just like some of the lighting's not perfect,
Yep.
and all that to me just really just works perfectly overall for this entire show.
Yeah, you can tell it's a different time, and I can appreciate that. It comes off as more real. It does come off as more raw, no pun intended. But it's a great thing, and I think the theme continues throughout the night. It's going to continue throughout the year, and at some point we're going to get away from it, and I'm going to be very disappointed when it happens. Yeah.
But at least then, when that does happen, we will be introduced to the first edition of the Titantron.
Yes, and then we'll see, the ridiculous entrances and the stage and the ramps and all the variations in between through that they try to go through.
Hey, well, real quick, before we get too far into this, I want to jump back just for a second, because I have actually freeze frame on the computer here. In the opening segment, it's Vince voiceover talking about the Royal Rumble, of course, and he brings up the San Antonio Express News, and they actually show, like, superimposed over the wide shot of the arena, they show the newspaper. And so my first thought was like, well, this will be interesting. I'm gonna go and see if this newspaper still exists, and if they have archives, or if they're just archives, period. Well,
Sure.
There's a paywall, so I couldn't get through that. But now
we're very professional here. We don't pay for anything.
Nothing. So now, just freeze framing it and looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, this is not what it looks like on television. Because it struck me as odd the very first time I saw it. He's talking about how the San Antonio Express News covered the Royal Rumble, and the picture that's on the paper is
front page.
Yeah, but did you notice what that picture is?
Oh, it was Gold Dust and somebody, right?
And Triple H.
Yeah, from the Royal Rumble the night before.
So why would that be the picture? So, but now as it's freeze framed, I'm looking at it, and the headline above that picture is "Lawmakers felt some name intentionally misled something." There is no mention of the WWF Royal Rumble on this front page anywhere.
Well, they said it's in the top right corner, and they're zooming in on it.
Not in this picture. In this picture, it's just the front page, and they have added the picture.
Oh.
Yeah, this is some proto Photoshop shit here.
This is pre Photoshop.
And they've got a little piece off to the side which looks real. This says Rock Sock Rumble shakes the dome, which I'm sure was a piece somewhere in the paper. But
but it wasn't on the front page.
Nah, it's a column somewhere, because I mean, even if it was, why would it be Gold Dust and Triple H?
Makes no sense. Yeah, you would think it'd be Shawn and Sid or Austin.
Or at least, or the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
30 men in the ring. Well, I mean, I guess there were never 30 in there at the time, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump to, and I also wanted to mention kind of odd thing that I don't think you see any these days, but again, I don't watch, so I don't really know, but I know you won't see much of this a year or two from now. They start this as a stand-up. The three of them are not behind the booth, handheld mics, and they're all standing next to the ring. Matter of fact, in front of the Spanish announce table.
Yeah, I did notice that. It is a takeaway from what we're used to. And later on, we'll see them behind the table talking and getting excited. But yeah, the standing up, and not only that, but I noticed right in the beginning, they give a spoiler away. I mean, not only did they mention the Sid and the Undertaker deal, but right away, they said Gorilla Monsoon will announce the real winner and who will go to face champion at WrestleMania. So right away, they're telling you that they're going to screw Stone Cold in this episode.
Yeah, they never sell anything that would say that there was a decision and now they're changing it for the Brett situation.
Right. Yeah, and we'll get into that as the show progresses because this show is heavy on one storyline and one storyline alone.
Nothing else exists.
Yes. It's going to kick off. Bret Hart comes to the ring, like we said earlier, no music, no theme song, no lights, no nothing. He's dressed in jeans and some Canadian t-shirt.
It's the isn't that his Canadian like B League hockey team, the Hitmen?
It was a hockey league deal, but I don't remember what it was specifically. He comes out. Commentary doesn't know what's going on. They sell it right away. This is what we were just talking about. Bret calls out everybody who's been breaking promises to him, and explicitly he calls out Vince, which we were leading into the last show about heading towards the end of the year, heading towards the Montreal screw job and that whole deal. And already we're seeing we're seeing the world building towards that. And throughout the show, really, people just keep on exposing Vince because at this time, you have to remember, he's not out as the owner of the WWE or the chairman or whatever position he's supposedly holding.
Well, yeah, so two things on that. One to harken back to what we were talking about last week is I was actually just flipping through the internets or whatever. I stumbled across a video that is a couple years post the beginning of the Vince or the WWF's the whole steroid trials, and without coming right out with it, he does a like a promo from the WWF studios, like the same backdrop where they would do live wire from, and
Sure.
and it kind of struck me as odd watching that because like he doesn't expressly say it, but he keeps saying, you know, I or me and the WWF and so on, and even then he's kind of exposing it.
Sure. If not then, the trial did.
Well, and this is after. So he's it's post the trial. He's been found, you know, not guilty, and but so, I can't remember what it was about. Something had just happened. Some newspaper had just printed something else, and he was addressing it. But yeah, I was like, wow, I kind of like that's really putting him out here well before this deal. But then also I noticed, and according to my notes, I could be wrong. I don't think Bret, now it happens later with Stone Cold, I don't think Bret ever actually says Vince. He just keeps saying you. And this may be nothing or this may be something, but at one point, right after he says, I've been screwed by this and screwed by that, and I've been screwed by you, and he's pointing to like the three commentators who are still standing up in front of the Spanish commentators table.
Yeah.
Vince like walks away.
Yeah, the camera is pointed directly on him.
Yeah.
He gets a look of shame and walks over to where the timekeeper's table is.
But I viewed it almost as like he was singling himself out to make sure
everyone knew
it was him and not those three.
Wasn't Jerry Lawler behind all this? Scheming and colluding after that great Royal Rumble appearance.
He was a long way from slapping off Andy Kaufman on Letterman.
That's right. Yeah, Bret's calling out Vince. It's pretty direct without saying the word Vince. He says, I'm sure it's no coincidence Shawn was ringside for my title match. He keeps on saying it's no coincidence that I had to fight Steve Austin. He was promised this, he was promised that, and then he says, where is his opportunity? It doesn't look like I'm going to get the opportunity of the World Wrestling Federation, so I quit. Bret drops the mic and leaves through the crowd. I remember parts of this angle as a kid. I don't remember the details whatsoever because this was like a first time for me all over again. It was awesome. I don't remember Bret Hart quitting the WWF.
No, not at all. And especially this close to the screw job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's probably almost a year away, 8 months away, but like this close, they're running this in angle, which honestly, to an extent, because I was kind of in and out of this time period of watching wrestling at all, but this kind of parallels a little bit to the CM Punk deal when CM Punk has the pipe bomb and then what, a year later he's gone for real too.
Sure.
As they say, they work themselves into a shoot.
That's what it is. Yeah. They finally get the chance to say what they want to say on air. It goes over, and then before you know it, They're not happy.
When a big thing too going is and I'm a you probably will too. I'm gonna keep harkening back to a lot of my notes mention there's little like subtle moments that I think really made this whole show. And during Brett's exit through the crowd, however clunky it kind of is getting over that guardrail, and I guess probably too because the commentators are working their way to the table, but nothing's being said. It's
silent.
Crowd noise and dead air. That's it. Or and the crowd starts up a "Please don't quit" chant.
Yeah.
And they just let that breathe, and that shit feels real.
And they don't say anything, and then all of a sudden someone else shows up.
Yeah, out of nowhere. No
theme
music.
song. Here we go.
Yeah, and even that, I don't think this was a part of the production plan or anything, but even that when Austin gets in there, and clearly they're having some audio issues because the first mic is corded probably directly to a camera, and then so is the second, and the first one doesn't work. That was probably an accident. Something happened with the audio, but man, that to me that just works.
No, it didn't work for me.
Really?
I went from being super serious to laughing. And I'm laughing at the incompetence. I'm not laughing at... It was funny when the second the mic started working, Stone Cold's cutting a promo on the sound guy already. He's halfway through it, and it comes back on at that second, and the crowd pops.
Well, I say for me it works in the sense that, and maybe it's coming from the last time I've watched anything WWF is super overproduced. It worked for me in the sense that the same way that everything feels a little underproduced, and as Brett just unceremoniously quits and walks out through the audience, and they're having audio trouble and shit's fucking up. Like it to me it just felt more real, and if a lesser performer would have certainly stumbled. But I think Stone Cold picked that up fine. Now, if he'd have stumbled really badly, that would have killed it for me as well. But
I wasn't laughing at Austin. I was laughing at the issue with the mic.
Yeah, what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. To me, that helps sell the whole thing. Like this whole shit's crumbling down around them. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, no, I get it. Austin had a lot of good lines here too.
Oh, so good.
He says, "Ever since you came back, you ain't done nothing but cry." He says, "When the going gets tough, the Hearts get going back home." And the crowd is eating it up. They're so hot for Austin here.
And right here is the first actual Vince we get. He said he points dead ass at Vince and says, "Vince screwed you."
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great moment. It's the first, again, we're world building again, because not only is Austin going to go through Brett, not only is Brett going to go on to get screwed by Vince McMahon, but Austin's going to go to feud with McMahon too.
So probably the hottest feud in the history of wrestling.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things going on here. And then they say that Austin says he was supposed to fight Sid, but the match was changed because of Sid's concussion. He said he doesn't care. He's ready to fight now. Vince gets up and just leaves. Do you see that?
Yeah, well, and again, going back to the mics not working, like Vince just getting up and walking out, and if you listen very closely, you actually hear him say, "I'm out of here."
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And then right after that, JR says, not hard on Mike. He kind of just like he's speaking to King, like. I forget the quote, but he says something to the effect of, like, "Where the hell's Vince going?" or something like that.
And then King jokes, "I think he's quitting."
He's quitting too.
Yeah. Then we fade to our first commercial of the night. Now this is going to get hot because we're about to get into my commercial topics.
Mikey's commercial topics. Wow.
That's awesome. I do not think that should be a segment following on the show. Come back from the commercial, and we got our first match going on. British Bulldog and Owen Hart they're coming into the ring. They're in their entrance. Philip LaFon and Doug Furnas have been in the ring. and we see that the Bulldog and Owen are tag champs. Right away, they're with Clarence Mason, who is absolutely disappears in this match. I think he went and sat down with the fans because I didn't see him once. But they make a point right in the beginning to mention Vince is gone. Jerry Lawler's very excited. Security in the back is making. Oh, this is awesome. So as they're talking, they're showing JR and King, and as usual, the fans right behind commentary are trying to act like idiots.
Wildin'.
They're always wilding. And here comes out of nowhere security on the right hand side, and he's trying to just throw people away from the barrier.
Never seen that before in my life.
And he's pointing at people and he's telling them sit down, and he's like blocking them off, and then it was fun to watch.
And there's I got in my notes there's a Four Horsemen shirt.
Was there? Yeah, I saw a guy trying to show his shirt off. But yeah, they were doing a terrible job. It was fun to watch. The match itself was actually not that great either. But I'll let you go into this because I know you're pretty excited about it.
I definitely have more on it later. I will say Clarence Mason is at this point, for the past 2 shows at the very least, the hardest working man in the World Wrestling Federation. I mean, he's out here for every damn segment just about, except unless it involves the main event. I will say we'll get to it later for one of our segments, but I will agree rewatching it, like the Furnas and LaFon's performance here wasn't fantastic, but it's funny. I'll just note because you said when Bulldog and Owen come out, Furnas and LaFon are already in the ring, which and maybe I'm wrong, but growing up watching this, to me, whoever was already in the ring, that's a lot of times your enhancement talent.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get beat.
Yeah, it's a squash. So I was surprised this wasn't a squash. I think there's some good mechanics in here, but there's some really weird missed stuff too that kind of jumbles it. And
it's crazy because the reputation of all 4 guys is very, very good, and they're all supposed to be great wrestlers in ring. But I just don't think there's any chemistry here.
Certainly not. And oddly enough, they'll continue to work. I mean, this is it. This isn't the year. They've got an In Your House coming up, as well as Furnas and LaFon. They're gonna stick around for at least the better part of a year.
Well, hopefully they find a better rhythm than this match. I mean,
hope so.
If we're gonna keep watching it, then I'm sure they must.
Well, oddly enough, they debuted in WWF in '96 at a Survivor Series, with the Godwins. Was it the Furnas, LaFon, Phineas, and what was the other cat?
Henry Godwin.
Henry. They're their team versus Owen, Bulldog, and the New Rockers.
Oh.
Leaf Cassidy and Marty Jannetty.
Marty Jannetty. Throwback. I like it. Yeah, but Philip and LaFon were a big deal at the time, coming from outside the WWF. They were big in Japan, I believe around Canada and throughout the U.S. Indies as well.
Yeah, especially UWA, but coming directly into this '96 debut, which Survivor Series is about this time of year, so it had only been a couple months prior to this. They actually came directly from ECW.
Oh, there you go. I knew I'd seen them there at some point. I didn't know time reference.
They go back too. So
okay.
Yeah. So you get an ECW TV. I mean, those days, you never know. You can have a full on conversation with someone about ECW, and you both think you're talking about the same thing, and you may not be because
sure.
The TV wasn't widely
distributed
exactly, and so it was a lot of tape trading and stuff.
Sure. I thought Doug Furnas was actually pretty stiff, and he looked all right. I don't know. You see this a lot in wrestling. I don't know if he was just overly excited, but it just looked like he was hitting everything a little early and just really knocking the shit out of people.
Yeah, you got a little bit of that red light syndrome.
That must be what it is. And the opposite for his tag partner, who was just a mannequin in there.
The worst of all is and Bulldog even takes a powder right after, is that Hurricane Rana, man. It just looks. There's no reason. Now, Furnas and LaFon both are only like 5'11", their combined weights, it depends work weight, but their combined weight's like 450 something. They're not small guys.
They have that thickness, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's witness the thickness. There is no fucking reason he should be doing a
Hurricane Rana, yeah.
And I'll stand by that statement, even so much to say, go back as far as you want. Fucking the Steiners never should have either.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't fit the body style.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Bulldog's powder was just heel heat or if maybe he just really kind of felt something there,
Sure. At one point, Owen gives a missile drop kick off the top rope, kind of botches it a little bit, but he lands on the guy. It was actually pretty cool. It was like a missile drop kick into a splash, and then he pinned him.
It's the ugliest drop kick that looked functional.
Yeah, that's right.
you see the foot land squarely, but God, it was ugly.
Yeah, I agree. At the end, Philip LaFon is clearly looking for the finish. He's watching Owen on the outside, waits for him, and then does the spot, obviously, where Owen trips him up off the ropes. He turns, gets hit in the head with the Slammy Award, and then Bulldog picks him up and power slams him. And for some reason, Doug Furnas just stands on the apron for a second and a half before he decides to come in and help.
Oh, it's so long. It feels like an eternity.
Yeah, and he's too late. Bulldog and Owen take the win. I don't think this was a tag title match, but they won the match anyway.
I was wondering that myself. I looked it up. That this was a non-title match.
Okay.
It's weird because they lost, and I guess maybe later they'll sell it under because it was kind of a controversial because they cheated. But basically, in your house coming up, they're gonna get a title shot.
I don't think Philip LaFon is selling anything for anybody. Starting with this match.
Well, you see.
No, I gotcha.
You see it even a little bit today, but I mean, especially in these times, man. These cats come back from Japan as superstars and don't want to sell shit.
Yeah, Jerry Lawler made a point in this match. He compares the end of the Rumble to baseball or football, and he says, "If referee makes a bad call in the Super Bowl next week, are they going to change the decision after the game?" And JR's like, "Well, no, King. He's got nothing for him."
Well, yeah, because Stone Cold makes the I skipped that part of my notes, but yeah, Stone Cold makes the analogy of do we have the instant replay rule here in the WWF?
That's right, especially a day after the fact.
One thing I'll say real quick too, going back to that is this far removed, man, I forgot how huge Gorilla Monsoon was as a person.
Oh, he was monstrous. He stood over Vince later in the show.
And I don't know how tall Vince is, but Vince is not a small guy, but man, he towered over him.
He did. It must have been, I had never seen Gorilla wrestle, but he must have been pretty imposing at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some clips here and there, like in
Right, I've seen like the videos.
Yeah, I can picture his ring gear, but yeah, I've never seen anything like a full match or anything.
I'll just make the comment real quick because it's going to come back later. There was a commercial right before this match and during this match. All right,
yes.
let's move on.
I roll before we go.
Go ahead.
This will tie into something later on. So they're pimping. This is the first on-screen pimping of La Femme Nikita in this episode. That we'll see more.
Ooh, 9-year-old me loves La Femme Nikita.
I never got into it. I was all about later on, man. The silk stockings.
Oh, there it is.
USA softcore porn for 13-year-olds. But also in this match, there is JR. I'm not gonna explain anything more. We'll get to it, but JR makes the mention of something about Robin Hood and not the wimpy Robin Hood, and they just move on. It's a throwaway commentary line. He's being glib, and I was like, that's weird. And I wrote it off. I was like, who knows? This is WWF. We're not truly out of the super terrible characters yet. Maybe Robin Hood's going to be here next week.
Sure.
also, Owen.
But it's going to be a callback.
Yes. Also, Owen's clearly calling this match. I hate the Enziguri. It's the worst move ever.
Yep.
And I think they call it in the hard way. I think.
Yeah, the flip over the ropes.
Yeah, it's so terrible.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's not believable. Well, just like you said, Next match coming up, Clarence Mason went to the back with Owen and Bulldog, and then somehow he switched teams.
Never
and
left
joined,
Gorilla.
Never left Gorilla. Joined the Nation of Domination while he was back there, and they came right back out with for Faarooq's match. And once more, some terrible singing by PG-13.
It's better tonight though than it was the night before. Like
Well,
slightly.
there's a lot less people to hear it, I guess.
A lot less sound dampening with bodies.
That's it. Less reverberation. All right. Faarooq's out there. He's going to go one-on-one with not the one, Bart Gunn.
That's his new official title.
Not the one. You can tell in this match, Bart Gunn's still in good shape. He's still young here. He's just coming off of the Smoking Guns run in 1996. I don't know if Billy's hurt here or if he's already split off into his own singles thing.
Oh yeah, from what I read, they're done. Like it's over.
Oh, word. And then pretty quick we see Bart Gunn working the arm. Crush is looking on very affectionately from the outside. And we fade to commercial. I just want to note that is the second match and the second commercial mid-match in a row. I want to say that I noticed also Bart Gunn's cowboy gimmick's pretty played out at this point.
Oh, it's terrible, man. Like
no one's buying that.
It's such an easy thing to transition to. Like, just keep the jeans, put on some wrestling boots, and just kill the rest of the cowboy nonsense. Just be a regular guy.
That's it. And then, have something to stand out, but not a cowboy.
I mean, he didn't have anything to stand out being a cowboy, so.
True that. Serious question. Does Faarooq have the deepest voice you've ever heard in your life?
Hands down, 100%.
His shouts at the referee had me scared.
Like, he must.
Damn.
He doesn't just speak from the soul. Like he must protrude his lower jaw and room. Like
he speaks from the bowels.
Yes, sir.
But no, it's awesome. He's I don't know. I've always appreciated him. He's never been the smoothest worker, but I've always appreciated Faarooq.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Ron Simmons, whatever you want to call him.
The second they got that damn helmet off of him.
Yeah, it was perfect.
When I ask you this too, because you would know much better than me, I did not notice it on the Royal Rumble. Is this the first appearance of D'Lo?
This is the first appearance of D'Lo. Well, no, I'm sorry. It's not the first appearance of D'Lo, but it's the first
Nation.
For us, it's the first appearance. I think he was with the Nation before on the shows, but not on TV.
Okay. Yeah. So they definitely make. They don't show him outright, but they definitely make a point to.
They cut him from the side, and he's got the worst haircut I've ever seen.
Oh man, it's the highest and tightest, high
and
and tight ever.
The most ramen of the noodle,
like a fucking Brillo pad.
It's rough. And this is before he's ever debuted in the ring. Although he did work some. He was a jobber in 1994 under his real name, AC Connor. Just so everybody knows, the greatest of all time, D'Lo Brown makes his TV debut here.
But worst case scenario, folks, if you don't get anything else out of this podcast, you have the most world-renowned D'Lo Brown, his biographer.
I prefer the word enthusiast.
Enthusiast.
D'Lo is awesome, and he's making his first. And really, he kind of stole the show here with that great haircut.
Yeah, but my only complaint, my biggest criticism about his appearance is he did not wag his head once.
No, it's his pre-wagging.
It's his pre-wag era.
His head was still attached at this point.
Oh man, and then we get Bart Gunn in the ring. Even working those, and they're not true cowboy boots, but
I'm getting away from the boots.
they look like looking at them now, they look like wallabies almost, but still. Much like people complain about Shawn Michaels' motorcycle boots. Can you imagine the drop kick with those damn boots?
With that heel?
Oh.
It would be rough. And right after that, they announced Crush and Ahmed Johnson for next week. And man, I cannot wait for that one. I was pretty stoked. I had to write that one down.
Question about Crush.
Yep.
It's 1990. Two questions. It's 1997.
Okay.
Is that a real tattoo?
On his face?
Yeah.
No.
Didn't think so. So someone's drawing that on his face every night.
Probably him. From
And-
everything I hear, most wrestlers paint themselves. Goldust paints himself every night.
That I could see. I know Sting. I think just because I've heard a story about it,
LOD and all of them.
I don't believe what was man, messing up because I want to say Kamala, but it's not. What was the dude from Memphis? Big black guy, wore the loincloth.
Yeah, that's Kamala.
That's Kamala?
With the moon and the stars?
Yeah. At least in the Memphis days, Jerry Lawler used to draw that on him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
There's a funny story with Lawler's. It's months into this thing, and it is before he'd come up to the F, and Lawler's painting the crescent moon on him or whatever, and he's like, Jerry, I mean, it's whatever, but why you always put a banana on me?
He had no idea.
He's just rolling with the punches, man. That's wrestling.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no. Crush. I think Crush is only in the nation just to be the guy that says this is not a black group. Just so they can get across this is not a militant black group. They have to add one token white guy.
Well, and it's so weird too, because at this point, the nation is huge. It's probably has its largest numbers, but there are only 2 actual workers.
Who's that?
Faarooq and
Crush.
Crush.
Yeah, that's about right.
Later on, it'll be all workers or mostly all.
Yep.
But way less. They'll never have the numbers they have right now.
No, but then eventually they'll have all wrestlers.
Yeah.
We see PG-13 jump in the match. They help Faarooq get his foot on the rope. They trip up Bart. They do all kinds of nasty things. Bart finally dumps outside to take him out very easily. And then Faarooq jumps off the ring apron with one of the worst lucha dives, we'll call it that, I've ever seen. And then Crush, after affectionately staring at the match earlier, very gently rolls Bart back into the ring to feed to Ron Simmons. And there is, and please understand, people, that is not sarcasm. He gently caresses him into the ring.
It's nearly sensual.
It is. And then Bart takes the ride. Ron Simmons, Faarooq picks him up, drops him with the Dominator. This might be the scariest move I've ever seen done.
Oh, man.
He looks like he's going to drop everybody on their head.
Well, not just that, the impact of it doesn't even look that damaging, like the actual bump. But the way your body is flung and contorts on the way up, it looks like it would certainly throw your lower back out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks rough here with Bart Gunn. I'm sure he's a big boy, so I'm sure it wasn't easy to pull off. Anyway, Faarooq takes the win and moves on. I was surprised there was no Ahmed Johnson attack here.
Yeah, I mean, and this whole thing is, Ahmed wrestled last night, so let's just go ahead and assume as canon he hurt himself.
That's probably true. You pull Kevin Nash and they're a quad. We cut right from this match. Gorilla Monsoon comes out to the ring. I've noticed there was like nothing going on backstage. This is all in the arena on the show. Everything, which is great. It's different, and it'll be good to get some. That'll be one of the new things that I will like is getting some different interview sets, different places to interact moving forward.
When even when Vince and Gorilla actually come out, it's before the nation can even get back.
Yeah, they're already coming to the ring.
You even see Bart being carried out by a referee.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
So Gorilla comes out. He is here to announce that even though Stone Cold was declared the winner of the Rumble, it's a real travesty, but we don't change referee decisions in WWF. So instead, if Bret Hart is willing, and he's sad to hear about him quitting, but he hopes he can hear him somewhere because he's inviting him to take part in a fatal 4-way match. Well, I'm sorry, a 4-way elimination, no disqualification match.
If Bret's anywhere, and if he can hear me from the concession stand, I hope he can hear me.
With the hot dog.
This is where like everything was great for me up until this segment.
Really, I love this.
Which, I mean, it's all no. This is all still really good, and the way it happened, it's the only way it could happen. I think I'd be jumping. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead, so I'll get to that.
Well, yeah, no. Gorilla announces it's a 4-man elimination, no disqualification match. The winner will face whomever is WWF champion at WrestleMania 14, or is it 13? WrestleMania 13.
Shit, I don't have that. Yeah, I think 13 though.
It's a 4-man elimination, no disqualification match. Winner faces WWF champion at WrestleMania 13. It will have The Undertaker, Vader, Bret Hart, and Steve Austin. I noticed Bret Hart got the biggest pop, so maybe he was the biggest babyface at the time, aside from Shawn Michaels.
When they did I think we talked about this on the Royal Rumble episode. It was kind of the final 5, but Glenn Jacobs as Diesel. They did a really good job of where they framed it because Bret dumped out fake Diesel.
Yep.
So technically, he was the last man legally eliminated. So I mean, I didn't probably as a kid. I definitely wouldn't have thought anything of this. I'd have just bought in completely. But
Same.
They're like little logic behind it, man. It worked. It like all the math added up. I was like, oh, good job.
It did until they called it the Final 4 match. Because it's not the Final 4, it's 4 of the Final 5.
Yeah.
So yes, the explanation for the match worked, but you can't call it the Final 4 because my man, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, is getting the shaft on this one. He's not on the show. He's not in the pay-per-view match. He's not getting a shot at WrestleMania. I'm really upset.
Are you going to tell me they yanked him from television?
They yanked him right out of there.
2 weeks in a row, folks.
We're gonna find ways to drop that in every episode.
Never forget.
Never forget. Austin eventually comes out to the ring and he says, Bret Hart, in case you didn't notice, Bret Hart just walked out. And the Gorilla and Austin should have been gold. It's a shame we lost Gorilla too early.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? And I see now, I jumped ahead earlier. This is when Austin lays into the no instant replay.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I have that noted here. Do we have replay rule in WWF? And Vince and Gorilla are on the outside. Austin pops out, and here comes Bret from the concession stand, half-eaten nachos in his mouth. Jumps over the barricade, goes in the ring, grabs the mic, and says, I accept. And then Bret and Austin just fucking start killing each other.
The Bret entrance, man, coming back in from the crowd, it's like, yeah, we know you're just sitting up there waiting. Like, I mean, probably not. Probably actually went somewhere and then came back, but still. But I'll give them this. That was their only recourse. It's not like after that you could have him come out from the entrance, you know?
Right, because he quit. Why would he be backstage?
Exactly. Well, this would be a good time to have a screen, and you could at least do even that though. Even having a camera in his face wouldn't work, you know?
Well, then they can't fight him and Austin.
Very true.
And build that tension. Anyway, they eventually break up Bret and Austin, and then Undertaker's music just hits. And he just comes out, and he just attacks Bret in the entranceway. And then he goes and does his match with Austin. This just feels so fucking real.
It really does, and to hit the other side of something we've mentioned several times is the fact that when people just come out unannounced, there's no music. Well, Undertaker gets his music here. Yeah, sure, he gets his lighting cue, all that. But he was supposed to come out anyway. So that him having his music in his lighting cue, that to me, that makes everyone else not having their music when they didn't even better. Like it sells that even harder.
Yeah, he was supposed to be there at the end of the show.
Exactly, and all these, especially nowadays, all these run-ins where you get the music hitting, it's like, come on, man, like.
Yeah. All right, guys, cue my music. I'm gonna run out there.
Yeah, on your way out, you stop by a girl like, hey, can you pull my music real quick?
That's ridiculous. And this just shows you that the old way is probably the better way.
100%.
Undertaker gains advantage quick on the outside. He uses the ring steps, another favorite of everybody since last show.
Stairway to Heaven.
The fans are actually booing Undertaker various points throughout this, which is surprising for me.
Yeah, I can't. They make a big mention early on, and they hammer it in on this match as well, right at the beginning, saying that Undertaker lost his entire purse for the Royal Rumble event because of his rage fit.
And
against the
choke slamming the referee. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, well, clearly versus Vader, he's babyface, and then he does that, which doesn't seem so. Then they come back in, it's like, all right, well, they're settling that again, and it's almost like they want Austin to be the heel, and they haven't yet realized that he's a huge fan favorite. And
Right.
so much so, and Austin kills it on trying to keep that up, because at one point on his first appearance of this show, he says something and gets a big pop, and it's so nonchalant and just real quick, but he just like kind of turns and looks toward one side of the crowd and he's like, knock it off.
Well, they want to be part of the show, so anytime that happens, they're gonna jump up.
Well, I still think at the same time though, like they haven't realized it yet. It's the late '90s, and it's taken it a while for it to trickle into wrestling. But man, the '90s is just full of anti-heroes.
Oh, it really is.
And no one in wrestling really capitalized off that
Like
well.
Austin.
Yeah, and Austin. I mean, and here we're seeing the beginnings of it, and as the WWF is and was, like they're being a little slow to recognize it and run with it.
Yeah, I've got no idea if the deal with Sid was true, but I know accidents happen. But the guy who fought Vader last night at the pay-per-view, really stiff, is wrestling right now, and Sid's not here. So that was just something I wrote down.
I didn't think this match was that great either.
No, I just mean that Undertaker's there. He was in the Rumble. He was in the Rumble. He was fighting Vader one-on-one, but somehow Sid couldn't be at the show.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, we talked about that, man. Sid took that vicious camera shot.
That must have been it.
right between the shoulder blades, man. That's Sid's Achilles heel. Right.
Did you hear JR remind King about the ribs, and then Lawler gets up off the commentary table, walks to ringside, and starts telling Austin, "Go for the ribs, go for the ribs."
He starts it from the table.
Yeah,
and
then moves over.
Oh, it gets so hacky once he does that, man. Like, he ends up like he's Austin's manager, banging on the apron,
on the ring apron, yeah,
trying to get his attention. Austin, I don't think Austin ever turns and pays him any mind.
No, yeah, he goes to the ribs.
Well, eventually, no, he definitely goes to the ribs, but I don't think he ever actually acknowledges King.
Oh, I don't know. I know right after that happened, that this match went right to commercial. And that makes 3 of 3. Every match on this fucking show.
More commercials.
Goes to commercial in the middle of the match.
Well, and even in the last deal, in the last segment, JR is like out of nowhere, as if he's talking to the truck.
Yeah. Don't go to the camera, or don't go
now. Don't go now.
Yeah. But here they go. And they go to commercial, and I'm fucking pissed.
Even watching with no commercials, it's
even watching without commercials. I'm like, okay, we'll be right back. And I'm like, this is the main event. What are you doing? So they go back and forth. It's a okay match. It's not the greatest. Undertaker gets Austin ready for a choke slam, and here comes Paul Bearer and Vader out to interfere. Vader hits the ring. Undertaker attacks him, and the referee calls disqualification. Now, he was in the ring, so I get it, but he never actually hit the Undertaker until after the match was already thrown out.
Yeah, this whole finish, on top of being kind of a screwy finish, was a very screwy finish.
Yeah, Bret Hart comes out pretty quick afterwards, and now all 4 are brawling in the ring, which makes sense because of the match that was announced, but it's a big clusterfuck at the end.
Yeah, I think clearly they knew they wanted this to end in the big brawl, but there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into how to get there.
Well, everything but 2 matches were directly related to the main event storyline, and it was pretty evident that it carried throughout the show.
Yeah, that's why at the top is why I mentioned you can see, and I think it really feels like, damn, they really need maybe not another hour, just 30 minutes or something. Like, they need to squeeze something else in there, get one more storyline in, or maybe not, because we're jumping in. This is the first Raw of what we're watching, so maybe if you jump back an episode or 2, it doesn't feel like this. When they don't hark on the main event storyline so heavily. But yeah, watching this, I'm like, damn, yeah, y'all really need that second hour. You
And
need
we're used to what, 3 hours now.
Yeah, well, fuck, that's just way too goddamn long.
Yeah. So I think that 2 hours is the happy balance. And we'll see that later on in the year. But that pretty much closes out the show, guys.
Yes, sir. And, overall, what do you think? I mean, storyline wise, because the segments are so heavy, I think the show's good. I think the actual like work rate was pretty dog shit, but
I'm right on board with you. I think the matches weren't that exciting, but the storyline's a good one. It's interesting. It's not something I've seen before, even though I've seen it before, and I'm excited to keep watching.
indeed, and yeah, I've even dipped over into the next episode, and I'm not hating what they're doing yet.
Well, it's going to make for an interesting year as we continue to progress and go through the stories and make our way. We're on our way to the next Senior House now.
Just that quick.
Yeah. So we'll move on from the show, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. That pretty much wraps up the show, and we're going to move on to our weekly segment spot here. We're going to start with the 2 years later segment. And Brian, who'd you pick this week?
I went with, unfortunately, once I got into it, I went with Furnas and LaFon.
Oh, the tag team champions.
The Can-Am Express.
The Can-Am Express.
Honestly, I went with them 100%, assuming that it would kind of parallel my pick from last week, that it would be an ECW start and then straight back to Japan after this run 2 years later.
And did it surprise you?
It really did, man. Like these guys honestly kind of fell off the map. They went back to ECW.
Okay. I remember seeing them there. I don't remember if it was the before or after.
Yeah, and then toward the end of 98, LaFon leaves and Furnas hangs around in a singles capacity for a little while. His last match was actually with Rob Van Dam for the TV title,
nice.
Which of course he loses.
Yeah.
But as I got into this, man, I got really interested because I vaguely remember these guys, both from ECW and from WWF, and I don't remember them being super standout.
No, not at all, and that's all you ever heard about them. Exactly.
So, but going into them, man, and I've got so many notes. I'm not gonna go through all of them because this would be a whole different episode just about these guys. But so for starters, from 89 to 92, All Japan Pro Wrestling, Universal Wrestling, back to All Japan, ECW, WWF, and then back to ECW. But and then these guys, man, their accolades, they kind of killed it. Like where'd that page go? So I mean, they're like 5-time All Asia Tag Team Championships in All Japan, World Junior Heavyweight Championship for Dan Crofat, which is LaFon.
His real name.
Of course, they had like a day, like a 24-hour period of ECW Tag Team Championship. But yeah, man, they've had some like match of the years. PWIs ranked them really highly on 100 best tag teams. Well, not really high, but number 38.
That's pretty high if you're talking about the world.
Exactly, and I mean they like their All Japan run, the first run is like heralded by people as amazing. I've never seen one frame of it, so I'm not gonna vouch for that or shit on it. But yeah, so basically, after we usually do this, it's 2 years, so it's usually just like from 97 is 99. So I try to get as close to like early 99 or even mid 99 I can. But they really fall off the map in 99. The last I could really find of either of them is in ECW in 98. Well, when LaFon leaves ECW, the tag team's done. Like they don't wrestle again ever again.
Wow.
So then it gets crazy though, because then they actually get in a car accident in the right toward the end of the WWF deal. Because here's the thing, they're gonna stick around in what we're watching for a while. I believe they're even gonna make it to the next Survivor Series.
Okay.
But so they got in a car accident that kind of really put for both of them, being ring beat up and all that. It kind of made them age a little quicker. And well, after the Furnas retires after the ECW deal and actually opens. So this is my 2 years. This is my 99. Doug Furnas is running a a group home in San Diego with his wife for abused boys.
Well, that's not the way I thought you were going.
He would also raise bucking stock rodeo bulls in his family's farm.
Wow.
And sadly enough, though, eventually, and there's a whole other thing that's what really got me interested. But Furnas would later is this jumping way out of the segment, but in 2012 he would pass away. Prior to that, he'd written an open letter to the Wrestling Observer, detailing how he had Parkinson's disease and not exactly what he would die of. He died of some kind of hypertension, heart disease. But so that's him. And I had this all worked out in my head, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great segment. I really kind of flubbed it. And then the other one is so Phil LaFon or Dan, that weird last Crawfat. I don't know how you say that. It's Canadian. It's French Canadian, I'm assuming. But he actually is still, as of 2010, is still active. But yeah, 99, he went back to Japan, had a run, pretty uneventful apparently, because I can't find anything on it, no clips, no news, nothing. But he's still actually active in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Something called Monster Pro Wrestling, and even as recent as 2010, he got in the ring.
Nice. I didn't even know the other one was deceased.
Yeah, but me either. And I'm gonna keep. Actually, I don't want to go through everything here, but because they're gonna be, we're gonna see them at the pay-per-view, at the In Your House, and like I said, they're gonna stick around for about a year or so. And we'll throw this in here, but I'll probably sprinkle in some more details about them as we go along because it is interesting. But I will say this: so apparently the WWF had interest in them before they went to the ECW, but just didn't work out. So, and this is according to Bruce Pritchard, the courting of Furnas and LaFon is what led to the loose relationship between ECW and the WWF that would lead to Vince basically secretly bankrolling ECW for all those years.
Yeah. A working relationship.
But it was that initial meeting with Furnas and LaFon, and Paul Heyman was in the meeting, and the deal they struck in that was that Paul could still use them, and that's what led to all that talent trading, to the extent that it's inferred Vince was looking to use ECW as a Smoky Mountain, Ohio Valley
farm system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm gonna hold on. I got their whole wiki printed out and notes written on it. I'm gonna hold on to it, and in further episodes, I'll keep sprinkling in some more Furnas and LaFon knowledge that everyone's dying for.
Oh, we need a theme song for that.
We know what the people want here.
It's Furnas and LaFon. That's why we're doing this.
That's the whole thing. This whole thing is to finally get Furnas and LaFon over.
God knows they didn't do it on their own.
I mean, you would think the yin yang on the back of their tights would have had it in '97.
You'd think I was wearing the yin yang in '97. Mine's going to be a whole lot shorter than yours because I don't have half as many notes as you got. My 2 years later is Bart Gunn, and it's pretty evident. I think a lot of people already know what happens. Yeah, he definitely loses the cowboy gimmick. He does keep the jeans, though. In June 1998, Bart Gunn ends up in the first ever and only Brawl for All tournament in WWF history. A shoot fight competition with boxing rules between WWF superstars. Bart Gunn ran the gambit through the tournament, beating the heavy favorites Dr. Death Steve Williams, The Godfather, and Bradshaw, including a couple knockouts. And then, after winning the tournament, was immediately dropped from TV for about a year. No real injury, no real explanation, just kind of disappeared.
Well, hold up.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
So then from the end of August 98 all the way until March, he's rarely seen, just a few appearances here and there. And then in March of 1999, he's booked at WrestleMania 14 to fight professional boxer Butterbean in a boxing match. Bart Gunn lasts all of 34 seconds before getting his teeth knocked in and getting knocked out cold. And that was pretty much it for Bart Gunn. He left WWF quickly after, went to Japan where he would end up winning some Japanese tag team gold with Johnny Ace. But that was the tail end of his career.
Wow.
Yeah. So he went from being a cowboy losing to Faarooq on Raw to being the guy who won a tournament to being the guy who got knocked the fuck out by Butterbean.
That's so crazy too. I remembered the Butterbean deal, of course, but I didn't know they waited that long.
Oh yeah. That was one of the things that astounded me. And I tried to find things he did in between, and there's a random match here and there, but they barely put it over until they were promoting the match with Butterbean.
That is so bananas. Pritchard mentions on on the Brawl for All podcast they did. He mentions that Butterbean actually asked them, "What do you want me to do?"
Yeah, is it a work?
Well, not even in the sense that he'd take the fall, but like, yeah, do you want to make this last a little while or what?
Yeah, it's the same thing Floyd Mayweather did with Conor McGregor. To make it look good, he let him last a while.
Well, because no one wants Tyson McNeely. No one wants to pay $100 for 14 seconds of a fight.
No, but that's what we saw here. But we didn't pay for Bart Gunn.
Sadly, no one else has either.
No, not at all. And that's why he's long since retired. That'll move us right along to our next segment and our last one for the show. It's the Did You Know segment of the week. So, Brian, I'll kick off this week's Did You Know. This show, is the third match between Steve Austin and The Undertaker all time. Austin and Undertaker wrestled for the first time in the USWA in 1989 when Undertaker was still under the name of The Punisher. They would end up facing 19 times in career televised matches, and never once did The Undertaker pin Austin clean.
What?
In a singles one-on-one match. Never.
So they just never faced at WrestleMania
then? Exactly. Every time there was interference or there was some kind of screwy finish, every time Undertaker won.
I mean, for as long as Undertaker's career, especially WWF wise, that's pretty astounding.
It is. The only time he ever beat him clean was in 1989 in the USWA.
And now you might know this better than me. I know you know it was the Punisher, but I hear the Punisher Mark Calloway. Did he actually use the name, or was it just the Punisher?
It was just the Punisher at the time.
Mine is way less intriguing in that regard. Like that's an interesting like.
I go for the stats.
Yeah, it's a like statistical deal. I was just astounded because I think everyone is very well aware who watched any of this shit. Even if you didn't watch Nitro, everyone remembers Tony Schiavone trying to spoil Mick Foley winning the world title.
Yep. That'll put butts in seats.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and of course, as they say, every TV in the country clicked over to Raw at that moment.
Yep. I was already watching Raw.
I was flipping back and forth, but I kind of had Raw timed out so I could go back.
Nice.
Watch the Nitro and the commercials, and unless NWO was out there until they got oversaturated. But yeah, so I remember WCW being really shitty about Medusa with the women's title and the trash can and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were used to them being the kind of cutthroat ones. I don't remember WWF
doing the same thing.
Yeah, being such snotty little bitches. And when Jim Ross isn't busy shilling for the film Nikita,
mm-hmm.
he makes about 4 references to Robin Hood. He, at one point, even goes, and you won't have to sit through Robin Hood to see it. So I looked this up. I was like, man, this got to be something. So I looked it up, and it popped right up. And those comments were in reference to the fact that TNT, starting on January 13th of 97, TNT had a new television show called The New Adventures of Robin Hood.
Okay.
There was a unique, so on the premiere episode aired immediately after an episode of Nitro, and a unique promotional effort took place between the two.
Okay.
The Nitro main event was Hulk Hogan versus the Giant.
Okay.
And it went off the air before the match ended.
Oh my God. For Robin Hood.
Well, and the remainder of the match was shown in the commercial breaks of The New Adventures of Robin Hood.
Just so they could see the finish.
This says it was the tone of the series resembled the contemporaries of Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and Xena Warrior Princess. So,
oh no,
you know this show is abject shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you had to sit through it to finally see which I have to imagine was either an NWO fuck finish or the worst leg drop in the business on the Giant.
Well, you know the Giant didn't go over.
There's no way.
Never. No, it's Hogan.
It was like, man, TNT. It's a dangerous business. Again, another thing I didn't really think about as a kid. It's a dangerous business when you're trying to do something as big and widespreading as a wrestling promotion, and you're owned by your TV station.
Yeah,
that's always going to be a little bit problematic, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's nice to have the TV slots right away, but dealing with that's going to be an issue.
Well, and in the end, I mean, not to say the product wasn't helping it right along, but in the end, that's what killed them. After the merger, just, AOL Time Warner just didn't want them anymore.
Yeah, you're right. So what was a benefit at first ended up being the Achilles heel.
Exactly, and that's where Vince just always had that leg up, man. Like USA took them on, never really wanting them, but then they became this juggernaut because of the competition.
And then they wanted to keep them.
Yeah, and
he flipped the script on them.
Yeah.
And it ended up that I don't remember, this was probably way beforehand, but at one point Vince was paying networks to be on the air, and he ended up making them pay him.
Yeah, handsomely.
Yeah. And then Raw became one of those flagship things later on.
But you know who still is the most over, who still wins out at the end of the day? As big as Raw is, as big as WWE is, nothing, my friend, nothing will ever preempt the Westminster Dog Show.
And that's why next week's episode is pushed to Raw Thursday Raw. Or Thursday Raw Thursday.
Which is so terrible.
There is the Super Bowl. There is the World Series. And then there is the Westminster Dog Show.
Not even Vince can shake that one, man. To this day, 2017, Raw takes a backseat to the Westminster Dog Show.
How embarrassing. That's egregious.
Oh, man. Well, shit. I mean, it's been a good episode. We should be back in a week, as far as you're hearing this, folks. And that we said before, that'll be Monday Night Raw, or is that Thursday the next one?
I think it is.
Okay, well, it's either way. It's Raw episode 195. It's the very next one, and we'll see. Finally, a full week removed from a brand new champion at a pay-per-view. He's finally gonna drag his ass to TV.
Back to the Beaumont Center.
So you know what? So they had to have taped it. He's just sitting back there, just waiting.
That's it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. This has been the Atomic Dropcast. See you next week.
Drop some knees on some ass.